Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm a little bit speechless right now. Thank you so much, Charlottesville. This band is from Charlottesville, as you know, and y'all made us what we are today. So we are so excited to be celebrating the release of our album with you tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I saw her good-looking man drive by today in an old white 1969 Chevrolet. He's headed off to church, dressed real fine, and I know if they'd seen me, they'd already be mine. He's gonna be my man someday. He's gonna be my man someday. Gonna get that man walking down the line. He's gonna be my man someday. He's gonna be my man someday. Gonna be my man until the end of time.
Hi, Ramona.
Hi, Hank.
It's really nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you too.
I was looking forward to this, especially after that triumphant record release party at the Southern on Saturday night.
Thank you. That was such an amazing evening.
Darling,
Truly.
on a rainy night, your fans packed the place. Your band, I don't think, has ever been better. They tore it up. You were amazing.
Thank you.
And it seemed really emotional for you. Have you even begun to process that yet, or?
It's funny, like the whole night I was like, I can't cry yet.
I got that.
Because
yeah.
I was like, I gotta make it through the show, and then like it never really happened. Like I never really had that like deep cry. The next day I started teaching myself a song by John Hartford, In Tall Buildings. And I was like, this song is so sad. I think like that was kind of like displaced, like, because it was just like, I mean, what an honor, like to have our community show up for us like that.
It was deep and it was wide.
Yeah.
There were these two little girls up front, and I told their moms, I'm going to be shooting crowd. I don't want to shoot your kids if you don't want them shot, because this is going to be on Instagram and everything. And they were like, for Ramona, you put it wherever you want.
Oh, that's
right.
So nice. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Do you think that it's just you've been doing this long enough to where you can take that emotion and that goes into the performance?
I think that show was really special because of the crowd energy, and actually playing at the Southern has always been like that for us, even
I just love that
2 years.
place.
It's so great. And like it's such a listening room, like people really go there. And, Seville is like notorious for people talking the whole show. And of course, if you like watch videos of the performance, you'll hear people talking, but they're just having a good time, But yeah, like people just really, this is such a wonderful place to be a musician because you can be like a big fish in a small pond here, I guess, and people will watch you grow from the beginning. Like when I look back at videos of us from like 3 years ago, it's just like, I think to myself, like, how did people even like us back then? Like we're so much better, but they were there. People in this town have been there for us from the beginning.
They had.
And that is just like, it felt like Saturday night was a culmination of that. And it was just like,
it was amazing. And it was a homecoming too.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why, I mean, if you were at the show and saw us, like by the end of it, I was like screaming basically into the microphone, and the audience was like screaming back, It was just like, we don't get to do shows with that level of give and take from the crowd.
Yeah.
And not to mention, like our two supporting acts were so amazing, and
just so great.
Olivia Ellen Lloyd, who's just like my hero, like, and then Kai Krogetti, who is such a huge part of this project.
He's one of my favorite men.
Yes, he's lovely, just a lovely person, and a very talented songwriter, and also just someone who's really held my hand, when I have needed it, in terms of like running the band like a business,
I was so impressed to hear, for both of you, to hear when you were talking at maybe it was with Pope Joy, who's a hero of mine, or I also love Bob Misako, but doing this job.
Yeah.
But just how smart you were to reach out to somebody with that much experience about how the hell do I do this?
Yeah.
What do I set up? How do I incorporate?
Well,
What do I do?
that was all Kyle's idea, because Kyle and Kai are very close friends, and Kyle has also been in the music industry for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate to have, people who about a year in sat me down and said, Ramona, how serious are you about this? And if you are, like, we know what to do to make it happen.
I think it's a testament to because those guys know what they're doing, and they know talent, and it's a sort of a thumbs up to you that they got involved that hard and that fast. I know your lap steel guy you credit with being there from the beginning.
Yes, Brooks.
Yeah. And it's just, I think, they knew what they were looking at and they weren't wrong.
Well, they saw a diamond in the rough, and I'm working on it. Yes.
The reviews on the record are starting to come in, and they're glowing. I mean, you're being compared by Americana Highways to Patsy Cline, Roy Orbison, Hosa. How do you deal with that?
Well, it's very flattering, and honestly, I think a little undeserved. Like, Patsy Cline is the pinnacle of, country music vocals, in my opinion, and I am very proud of how far I've come vocally. I've been taking voice lessons for 2 years from my teacher, Bridget Eversole, who's head of Charlottesville Opera, or creative director.
Oh my gosh.
Or was at some point. She's definitely involved somehow.
Did you reach out to her?
Actually, I had Terry Allard very kindly suggest her as a voice teacher. Terry Allard's another local singer-songwriter here. And oh my gosh, I mean, it's so cool. I'm so grateful to have met her, because singing for me has really been a karmic journey as much as it has been a physical one, because it's really like about finding your voice. You know what I mean?
It's so good to hear you say.
Yeah, and when I started this band, my voice was like this, and I was like forcing, and you can't sing like that. And you have to learn how to use your body as a resonator and trust yourself. And singing is also like 90% mental.
Yeah.
And so I had to get over a lot of bad behaviors, but also I'm still working on negative self-talk, because if you're about to sing a hard note and then you are like, you're not going to be able to do it.
Right?
Totally.
If you're visualizing the wrong thing when you're getting ready to swing a golf club or the bat, you're just not going to do well.
Totally. And I mean, as far as like the non-technical aspects of those artists that I've been compared to, I will take a little bit of that, just because what I want as a singer and as a songwriter, but especially during performances of vocal takes, is to convey the emotion. I really want people to hear a song and go, wow, that was so sad.
Especially with Tonk.
You gotta be, you can't fake it. You really can't. So
I asked Nicole Averill about this. I don't know if you know her. She did the open mic at Holly's, and I think she's since moved it down to Tavern on the Green. But I said, what's the number one thing when you're really trying to find your voice?
Yeah.
And I was surprised at the answer. She said, believe.
And
it just feels like that's right.
It's so true. And that goes for songwriting too. I mean, if you tell yourself I'm not good at writing songs, you're never going to be.
Well, you can't do that in life. I mean, we do, right? True. I've smacked the shit out of myself so many times, but you can't, and do anything worth it.
It's true. Yeah. And I think it's also not just like faith in yourself, but like, I have faith that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And that is, obviously like tied up in religious faith. And I know we're going to talk about that too. But like, also, my boys believe in me. My community believes in me. All of that helps me believe in myself. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of times when I come to this job, I find that my preconceptions are just dead wrong. And I expected to talk to someone who maybe had that classic first generation, second generation, daughter of Mexican immigrants story, and it was totally wrong. You're more of a third culture kid. Tell us, I think the audience is going to be really interested. Tell us how you grew up and how you traveled the world.
Yeah, so my dad is from Corpus Christi, Texas. He was second generation, which makes me third generation. I don't speak Spanish. It's something that I'm learning as an adult and honestly not investing a ton of time in other than learning new songs, which is definitely a way. Yeah, it's not as like,
homeworky.
Yeah, for sure. My dad was a Marine and ended up leaving Texas, fought in Vietnam, actually. I know, yeah, he's 75. My parents had me when they were 40, so they're older. And he met my mom at an embassy in Canada, and she worked for the Foreign Service. So I grew up moving to different countries every 2 to 4 years. So we've lived in Helsinki, Russia, Mexico, Brunei, Australia, Japan. That was all before I was 16.
Oh my gosh.
So that was like definitely, I think like the way that it influenced me culturally is that like I consumed American culture from kind of like an outside perspective, like in the sense of like classic Hollywood movies, like watching baseball on military television, just kind of like being one step removed from it, kind of, I would say, honestly made me idolize American culture more so than like I probably should have been. Like, I think I was pretty patriotic as a young child because of just like the culture of
if you grew up in embassies, you would be.
Yeah, it's true. Surrounded by military all the time. But yeah, that was like how I grew up. And, we lived in Virginia for short stints in between here and there. And then when
in Washington or
in Fairfax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And then once we stopped moving, I moved back to the U.S. like permanently and went to college, and then ended up moving to Charlottesville like 10 years ago.
Where'd you go to school?
Chicago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah. I'm a big nerd, so I love school and I miss it. I hope someday to go back for sure.
I want to pick up on you being an artist, because when I first came to this and I was listening to Gonna Be Mine, I was struck by the yearning of it. And I thought, again, oh, this is a kid that didn't have a lot, who's, is wanting. And then I realized when I dug down deeper, you're an artist and you've sacrificed for your art, whether it's working for public radio or doing your block printing of religious iconography, or now being a musician. Is that closer to where that yearning comes from, or do you just want a big house?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, I want to clarify that working at NPR was the best paying job I ever had because of the union. Solidarity
right
forever.
Yeah.
But since then, it's definitely been, I grew up middle class because of my parents' jobs, and I definitely at some point, after I had gone to the school I wanted to go to, worked at the career that I wanted to work, I basically was like, I can't see myself going into an office every day for the rest of my life. It just didn't feel like something I wanted to do. I had been working in radio for 10 years and it was my dream and I loved it. And then I stopped loving it one day. And I was like, I know I'm supposed to be an artist of some kind, but really wasn't sure what. I was really into printmaking for a long time and had a solo show at Second Street Gallery, which was kind of like the culmination of that period. And then it became more and more clear that music, which is always something I've always done my whole life growing up, was supposed to be what I was doing. And it's been, nannying, service industry jobs, life of crime, whatever, just to like get by.
You seem like a happy warrior, though. This doesn't get you down.
It does sometimes, especially around the end of the month. I'm like, what am I going to do? But it always works out. And that's another thing that makes me feel like the universe or God has got my back, because I've never gone without food. I've never gone without, a roof over my head. It's, I'm blessed. And I think like a big part of where my faith comes in is like the gospel like tells us like the birds of the field like do not wonder where they're going to get their next meal. They just like sing praises to God all day.
Yeah.
And so you can't worry. Like you're told, don't worry about it.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because the religious imagery is really there. I mean, it's in the art on your record. It's in the lyrics. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with your faith?
Yeah, I would love to. So I grew up going to church. My parents took me to whatever English-speaking church was around when we were growing up. So I've been to like every kind of denomination of church, basically. Um, and when I was about 12, we were attending a Episcopal church in Fairfax, and there was a schism over gay priests and women being ordained in the Episcopal church. And so I unfortunately went to a church that was like not on the right side of history, and it was pretty homophobic, and like 12-year-old me was like, what? This is crazy. And my parents were like, so we just stopped going. And I, at that point, I think was really hurt by that experience and was like, all this is bullshit, basically, and didn't go back to church until I was in my early 20s when I moved, or mid 20s when I moved here to Charlottesville. And then I started going to church again, and then August 12th happened. And I remember seeing people, like faith leaders, like protecting protesters.
I didn't cry over any of that. I had just moved here.
Yeah.
But learning that they locked arms, I'm going to get like...
I know.
Yeah.
And then I started digging into kind of like the history of Christianity in resistance movements. And not just here in the United States, but in Latin America has been such a huge force for good, even though the church for so long has been such a source of colonialism and violence and death and abuse, but like
But that's human, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
of
for us
course.
to be that so,
Totally.
you know, schizophrenic, I think.
It's true. And so I basically like realized that you could be Christian in a way that is really like in service of liberation, really honestly kind of anarchist. I ended up converting to Catholicism, which is not super anarchist in its like hierarchy.
It has been.
It can be.
Know.
I think it's really like, at the end of the day, like, you know, my faith is not only like politically informed, and that's kind of how I got into it, but it also is my way of understanding the universe. And like, when I talk about like being in touch with God or like getting inspiration for music, that feels like that comes from heaven, and that's outside of me, and I'm in service to that. And I think that like helps me receive art, because it's not like, oh, I'm coming up with it. We're just vessels, man, you know, like, and also too, like, I'm not, you know, even though I'm Catholic, that's just my framework of seeing God. Like, I believe God appears to people in whatever form that works for them, you know?
You're really wise, kid. I mean,
well,
you know,
thanks. I mean, it's just...
So tell us, you started to allude to this earlier, and then we're going off on really cool tangents here, but how did you find Charlottesville? What brought you here?
Oh, yeah. Well, I moved here in 2016. So next year's 10 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's the longest I've ever lived anywhere. And I moved here to take a job on a podcast for UVA, and did that for about 2.5 years, and then quit, and then have been trying to make it work since then. But
how did you find guitar?
Guitar, my uncle gave me a guitar when I was 16, and I loved the Beatles at the time. That was my favorite band. So I think like one of the first, like, he taught me Norwegian Wood and Blackbird and like all this stuff.
You learned your seventh chords.
Yeah, exactly. And I had been playing double bass since I was 11, so I had some string instrument.
Do you still play double bass?
I don't. I had to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'll buy another one.
I will someday, yes, for sure. Yeah, and then, so when I was 16, I wrote maybe 10 songs, and I really liked songwriting, and but didn't really have anything to say. When you're 16, you know, you're like, breakups, which is kind of what I read about now. But
but it's just juicier.
Exactly. And then, yeah, I kind of had always thought like maybe I should be a musician. It was always what I was best at. But just kind of like felt like I'm not going to be able to support myself. I wasn't interested in being a classical musician or getting good enough at jazz bass or whatever. Like I hated practicing. Yeah. So, and same with guitar. Like I'm not a very good guitar player. I'm fine. I'm passable. I mean, my band describes, they're like, your rhythm guitar playing is like the heartbeat that keeps us all together, you know? And so to pass that off.
Has to be, right?
Yeah.
And it has to be there for you to sing to.
Yeah.
And to find yourself as you're singing, I think.
Right.
Yeah. You described the writing on the record as wrestling with the spell that this fantasy throws over you. Can you talk to that a little bit? Because I think that's so eloquent.
Well, the first song is kind of like, this is what I want. And then there, like, the breakup songs, or like Down and Out, or Drunk After Work, all of them is like, I'm stuck in this rut of addiction. I'm stuck in this rut of not having money. Or in like the love songs, like, I'm stuck in this relationship that hurts me over and over and over again, but like, I'm not ready to get out of it. And kind of like how the fantasy, like the fantasy of wanting to make it keeps me poor for now. Or like the fantasy of wanting the relationship to work keeps me stuck, even though it's clearly not going to work out.
So wrestling with just your desires and things that you want.
Yeah. And like, emotional truth.
Your introduction to the band members Saturday night was just so touching, and it was so heartfelt, and the attributions were so genuine. Just, can you kind of boil just down how you feel about these guys, or is that going to be impossible to do? And I saved this for last in case of...
Oh my God. Boys. They are... I mean, like, there's like the musical aspect of it and the emotional aspect of it. Musically, I like to say that I write the skeleton and the spirit, and the boys add the muscle. They make it pretty. They make it have legs,
they
you know?
Sure do.
Yeah, their knowledge and love of country western music is such a huge part of why we sound like how we do. And all of the parts that they write, they really are. And the parts that they write and all of the myriad influences that come into play, you know, they've introduced me to so much, because I didn't grow up listening to country music. So they've been my teachers in so many ways, and of other genres too, you know. But as an emotional part of the band, I mean, I remember the other day we were at Bristol Rhythm and Roots, and Kyle and I were standing outside a store watching Brooks, Porter, and Jay all shop. And they were just so cute, and they were just like really like enjoying it. It was like this really cool store with like cryptid stuff, you know. They were just like really nerding out and enjoying it. And I turned to Kyle and I was like, do you ever think about how amazing it is that like everyone in this band is incredible? And just like everyone in the band has their own special little qualities that just endear them to, you know, all of us. And there's just something like, and this is like going back to the faith thing, like there's just something about the five of us together and how much we love each other and how much we make each other laugh. I mean, it's just like, we'll be in the van just like crying because we're laughing so hard. And that happens all the time. And of course, like, it's not always like that all the time. There's definitely like challenging parts of being on tour, but like everyone in the band from day one has decided that they care about this project to the point where they've spent so many countless hours of their time like trying to make this happen for all of us.
It's the one, Ramona, you know.
Yeah,
it's the
I
one.
know.
And you're so you've earned it so much, and you're so lucky, and that has to come from I keep wanting to come back to the spiritual thing. I mean, you put it out there, and you did the right things, and you treat it the right way, and it's coming to you. You know, I appreciate so much you taking the time to do this. I know how busy you are.
Thank
I
you.
know how hard you're working. And we just know, you know, the sky's the limit for you.
Thank you.
You know, go get it.
Getting it.
Get it. Take it easy.
Thank you, Hank.
Yep. Yep.